Welcome back to our little series, Stories Behind the Scriptures. And today we're looking into a fascinating question. Was the elaborate sacrificial system we see in Leviticus really part of Moses' original vision and direction? Or was Deuteronomy the core and Leviticus a later addition? So we're going to explore this subject of how blood sacrifice entered the Bible and how what we find in Leviticus today might actually be a reinterpretation and not a foundation of the law covenant. See, there are two different voices coming at us. Deuteronomy is one and another is Leviticus. And more importantly, does it really matter to us today? Well, let's see. See, when we examine the Pentateuch, we notice there are two main legal traditions in Deuteronomy and in Leviticus. They both talk about laws, worship, and covenant, but in really different ways. See, Deuteronomy was likely written or compiled during the reign of King Josiah in the 7th century, around 622 BCE. And it focuses on justice and covenant and loyalty and obedience. And it's very passionate about these matters. See, it's deeply rooted in the idea that God desires a people who love Him and treat one another with love and compassion. And how did this all come about? Well, during the reign of King Josiah, 2 Kings 22, you can read the chapter, the temple was undergoing extensive renovation and a scroll was found, the discovery of which sparked a major reform in national worship. Now, we've covered this in the first series, Series 1, Episode 7. So please go back and check the details. Now, many scholars believe this scroll that was found in the temple was an early version of the book of Deuteronomy. And that's significant because Deuteronomy doesn't emphasize ritual blood sacrifice the way Leviticus does. Yes, there are sacrifices, but they are simpler, more communal, and only in one central place, Jerusalem. And the focus is not on sin atonement as in Leviticus, but in celebrating the covenant. And the focus really is on justice and mercy, the centralization of worship, the loyalty to God, and obedience to the law covenant as mediated by Moses. Leviticus, by contrast, is ritually very meticulous. It outlines dozens of offerings, burnt offerings, sin offerings, guilt offerings, grain offerings, wave offerings, you name it, there's an offering. And it also introduced the Day of Atonement, which detailed rituals involving blood and scapegoats and high priests. Now, most scholars connect this to a priestly source, a group of writers during and or after the Babylonian exile. See, with the temple destroyed and the monarchy gone, the priesthood needed to maintain religious identity and authority. And so they gave us Leviticus, a book that makes priests and sacrifice the center of divine access to God. But what if this wasn't God's original design? What if this was a later interpretation? That gives us pause for thought, doesn't it? Now, many times things are best understood if we understand the chronology behind it all. Right. So when we think of the book of Deuteronomy as compared to the book of Leviticus, we find Deuteronomy was written and compiled in around the 7th century BC, around 622, in the reign of King Josiah. Leviticus, on the other hand, during or after the exile, around the 6th to the 5th century BCE. And the focus of Deuteronomy was on justice and covenant and loyalty, whereas Leviticus, ritual, priestly purity, and all the things surrounding that. As far as sacrifice goes, Deuteronomy is very simple, very centralized, a communal meal, whereas Leviticus is detailed and is heavy with blood and blood sacrifice. And so when you look at the theology of these two books, Deuteronomy, it's about ethical relationships, God and of course with each other. Whereas Leviticus, the theology behind Leviticus is atonement through blood. Now, what were the prophets' understanding on these sacrifices? Fact is, they all challenge the idea that God wants sacrifice. Ones like Jeremiah and Amos and Micah. Let's just, as an example, take Jeremiah chapter 7 and verses 22 and 23, where Jeremiah, he writes, God speaking to him, "For when I brought your fathers out of the land of Egypt, I did not merely command them about burnt offerings and sacrifices, but this is what I commanded them. Obey me, and I will be your God, and you will be my people. You must walk in all the ways I have commanded you, so that it may go well with you." And this was the tone of all the prophets. All of this culminating in even Jesus in the first century echoing Deuteronomy, not Leviticus. Remember his confrontation with the money changers in the temple? Remember, he quoted from one of the prophets, Hosea chapter 6 and verse 6, where he says, "I desire mercy, not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God rather than burnt offerings." This was directly confronting the whole temple system. Now, this raises a powerful point in that the deeper message of the Bible is not about ritual bloodshed. It's about hearts being transformed by love and justice and faithfulness. So it is, in fact, a rethinking of the foundation of the law covenant. Was Leviticus a later response to a crisis? And is Deuteronomy closer to Moses and Jesus? What does God truly desire? Now, for some, maybe many watching this video would rightly say, well, we don't follow Leviticus, equating that with the Mosaic Law covenant. We are in the New Covenant. Quite rightly so. Jeremiah 31 and verse 31. What does it say? "Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah." So, what is this new covenant? In fact, how new is it? And returning to our original question, why is it important for us today? See, now we will examine all of these in our next videos, stories behind the scriptures. So, thank you for watching. Now, if this has challenged your view or give you something to think about, please subscribe, share, and join us next time as we keep rediscovering the stories behind the scriptures. Thank you very much.